My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're becoming a regular on this podcast, Tony Lindauer.
You invited me back.
You
must like me.
I do like you. I did invite you back. And ladies, you'll have to tell me, is this working out? Are we okay?
Oh, could you have your husband on a podcast with you?
I don't know. Maybe you're getting axed after this one.
Uh-oh.
So anyways, please welcome Tony Lindauer back to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, today what we're going to do is we're going to dig into a topic. And the reason, honestly, I keep bringing Tony back to this is you guys are giving me feedback and that you're sharing these podcasts with your husband, which I really, really appreciate that. And continue to do that. Share these podcasts with any women that you feel could benefit. Share it with men in your life. Share it with your sons. What's important is that people get this content, they get this information, and you never know when that one thing is just going to hit. So that's why we continue to put out the content and appreciate you guys sharing it. So today's topic is going to be men and women need to tell the truth. Now, you may be like, okay, girl, what are you talking about? Where are we going with this? And what we're talking about is we need to start telling the truth when it comes to our health, when it comes to our wealth, when it comes to our standard for our life. Are you happy? Are you struggling? Are there unspoken thoughts that are keeping you up at night, are keeping you frustrated, are keeping you living a life that you are unsatisfied with? So where we want to go today is we want to understand, and from Tony and I's perspective, what are the truths that men and women need to say out loud? And more importantly, they need to do something about it. So, Tony, I want to throw it over to you here, and let's talk about what are some of these things that men do, or what are things that are in men's heads that would really help us as women to better understand?
I would put it and frame it more like what are men not doing to maybe show up in a certain way. That could be a big topic there. But when Arin talks about the truth, it's internal. So it's internal representation, internal thought process, internal work. And what I've seen with coaching men is what we do is we get distracted with the things outside of really identifying how we should show up, or taking the time to self-reflect and say, are we truly showing up how we're supposed to be showing up? And what I'm saying there is, what does it look like? Do I have standards? Have I communicated those standards? Have I let my standards slip because I got into the minutia of, I have this deadline for work. I have this basketball game to go to. I have this responsibility at home. I have this responsibility at work. I've seen that happen more and more with the professional guys I work with, is they get into a routine and they get going, and it's more like a fire drill every day. They wake up, try to survive, thinking they're doing the best they possibly can, and many times they're falling short, and they're not even really identifying the components that's missing. They're feeling something inside that they need to change, but they don't know how to do it, and that's really taking a couple steps back and self-reflection and understanding and evaluating different areas of your life. It doesn't have to be one, because they're all going to be a correlation, because if you're struggling in one area, it's going to roll over in other areas. It just does it that way. And this is what I've seen. So obviously it's going to be a little bit different for women, but nowadays we have so many, I think, competing responsibilities on both sides. Our roles are not as defined as they used to be, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's just understanding and being able to maneuver some of those roles and responsibilities, and understand that being on the same page is important. But you have to do some type of self-reflection, because guys get lost, they get stuck, and they don't know how to get out. And it's easier from a coach's standpoint, because we get the big picture. We see it from afar. When you're in the heat, when you're just getting up and going and trying to get things done, thinking you're doing the best you can, it's fight or flight survival, and you can't see it clearly. And that evaluation is, okay, am I taking care of my health?
Yep.
What does that look like? Am I showing up properly for my wife? Am I showing up properly for my position at work? Am I leading as a leader should lead? And I would say a lot of that correlation goes back to, if you take care of yourself, you have a lot more clarity. Your energy is well spent all over the place, because you've taken care of yourself first. Once you take care of yourself first, you can take care of everybody else.
Yeah, no, it's a good perspective too. And I mean, I think you really nailed it too when you said understanding your roles, because it isn't as defined as it was before. Not right, wrong. It's, I think times change, people evolve. I think households are a little bit different too. And like, one thing that was really interesting is I had a later appointment yesterday, just when this podcast was recorded. And what was so nice is I came home a lot later, and Tony had the whole dinner cooked, the kids corralled. And I was just like, oh my gosh, thank you. And, if I didn't say it enough, thank you, because like, it was so nice, but it took knowing, right? Like, you knew the grocery showed up, reasonably speaking, I had written on the board, what were the options? And so, I mean, it helped to know, hey, instead of saying what's for dinner, you knew that's what I was going to make had I had been home. And what was cool is you just took it upon yourself. And I mean, just publicly, I'm saying thank you.
Yeah. I mean, so the funny part with that is, obviously, we'd been communicating. We had that communicated. We knew what we were going to do. That doesn't give somebody an excuse to order pizza, right?
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah, but that's a normal. That's a normal for a lot of husbands. And I hear that so many times from my clients, because they'll be like, oh, I had all this food in the fridge, but I didn't get home. He was home, so he just ordered pizza. That's like a default.
Yeah, and we've to be pretty transparent, we've struggled with some of those components in the past.
For sure.
Just work environment. We've had different situations where we lived and worked in the same place. We're kind of back to that.
Oh, I know.
And sometimes you want to get away, so you'd go out to dinner. And we got in a routine of that. So we understand. I'm not ridiculing anybody for it, but I will tell you this. Main reason I cooked it was because it was steak, right?
Well, who doesn't want to have steak, right? Like, I had planned that for Valentine's Day. It didn't happen. And so
you can't let the steak go bad.
You can't let the steak go bad. That's an expensive piece of meat. So
that's a sin or something.
That is a sin for sure. But I appreciate where you're going with that, because it really is understanding, communicating, and knowing what each other wants. But the truth that I feel women need to really lean into is the stop complaining and blaming. Like, every time you have something come up in your life that you do not want to have happen, and let me put a huge old asterisk on this topic here, is I have been here. The only reason I can speak on this is because I have felt it myself. So before anybody feels like I'm throwing the knives right now, like, I was in this space where nothing was my fault. Everything happened to me. Life was hard. And so, of course, nothing was going right. Of course, I had put weight on my body. Of course, I was, not sleeping well, and, business wasn't going well, and just our relationship wasn't well. The kids were a challenge. Like, of course, everything was a challenge in my life, because I was taking zero personal responsibility. This is one of the biggest truths that women have to understand is we have to take personal responsibility. It is not your husband's job to get you healthy. It is not your husband's job to care whether or not he should care, but like it's not on your husband. Just because your husband is not in good shape does not mean you can't take care of yourself. And this is a conversation that I have more times than not is, well, it must be nice to have a husband who's on board, blah, 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 which yes, of course it is. But on the flip side, if you take care of yourself, your husband is a mirror. He is going to reflect back. When you tell your husband you love him, when you tell your husband, you give him a hug, he's going to reciprocate back because you are a mirror. So the number one truth that I feel women need to really embrace is this ownership, this personal responsibility. And instead of, blaming and complaining and this and that is always going wrong in my life. Here's the thing, more things will go right in your life when you take care of yourself, when you're focusing on the positive and the good. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but this is a space where women have to lean in that, hey girl, it's nobody's fault but your own. And I know that's hard to hear because it was hard for myself when I had to really look in the mirror and go, Arin, you've put 26 pounds on your body. You don't feel good in your own skin. None of your clothes fit. You're still wearing maternity clothes. Like, come on. You got to get it together. And I had to do it day by day by day and move myself forward. And the truth is, we take the responsibility and we have a standard. We have a standard for who we are in this life, what we want, and we have to forecast. We have to see this woman that we don't even know exists, but she's out there and we can see Arin. I used to have to call myself my ultra ego of fit Arin. Like, what would fit Arin do? Would fit Arin have this glass of wine? Would fit Arin have, the food that you prepped, right? Like, would it fit Arin, devour the popcorn at night?
Yeah, I don't. So when you say, male, female, I think that's more of a personality, not a trait. It's exposure and a way to give yourself an out sometimes and blame. And instead of really, if we really truly evaluate and get truth with ourselves, and that's what we're talking about, and you evaluate, it's more about self-reflection and you just don't want to go there. So it's easier to blame other people and other situations and things instead of doing the tough work on yourself and going, okay, am I really doing all the things I need to be doing to show up correctly? So it's not, I don't think that's a female male type thing. I think that's.
So you think everybody needs personal responsibility?
Well, yes, one. And then we'll talk about that. We'll give you some key components that you guys can do to evaluate your own situations and work on yourself. But what I was saying there is men do the same thing as well. They want to blame other situations. Had a bad day at work, so, I can go have, 2 or 3 beers to relax. Or whatever, or eat too much, or, or not be present with the kids when they get home, so it's really evaluating, some of those components. And you hit, the nail on the head with the mirror, because if you can't expect your spouse to be healthy if you're not healthy. So you are a representation of your spouse, and your spouse is a representation of you. So once you decide to, show up a different way, your spouse will take notice and they will want to show up a different way. I think one truth is it's okay to have those harder conversations with your spouse if they're not pulling some of those components. I know this may not work well in some relationships, but Arin and I have had these conversations ourselves. Hey, are you getting your workouts in? Hey, how come you're not getting your workouts in? And that's okay sometimes you're going to have a push and pull there to hold each other accountable. And sometimes it's okay to say, hey, I love you. I want you to be healthy for the kids and family. So let's make sure you're making your workouts. It may go well for you. It may not. From a man's perspective or females, sometimes those relationships are not strong enough in that area yet. And it's okay to have a tough conversation about it. So I don't want to cause any person to be sleeping on the couch for a month, but hey, if you have to do that to get over the hump and have those conversations, they need to be had.
Yeah. And I think you always have, especially with couples, is you have to remember at the end of the day, you do love each other and you only want what's best for both of you. You only want what's going to be good for all parties. And when you can come to each other with a tonality, with love, with empathy, hey, I get it. You know, I've been struggling too over here, but then not have a pity party. It has to be, hey, these are the core values that we have in our family. These are the standards that we set. This is how we take care of ourselves. And so, you know, I think first and foremost is the awareness. We have to start being really honest. And that's where, you know, this word truth really, you know, kind of stuck with me is we need to understand what is our truth. What are the things that we're telling ourselves? Are our truths, and now hang with me on this, are our truths actually our lies? And so sometimes we're lying to ourselves so much. Oh, it doesn't matter. I can have this cookie. Oh, it doesn't matter if I do these steps. Oh, it doesn't matter if I get this workout in. Those are actually lies. Those are not your truths.
Yeah, so that gives you an out or excuse. And you have to build repetition within anything you do. And your unconscious mind and your conscious mind will be more congruent when you say you're going to do something and you do it and you consistently do it. Then it becomes part of who you are and how you show up. So making sure your communication patterns are in a better format is always key in any situation. I know Arin said tonality, but language is so powerful and self-talk is so powerful. You know, some of the guys I coach, I try to correct them and get them reframing some of the communication patterns, because sometimes those communication patterns, they are almost talking to themselves, right? So if you are saying negative things, your unconscious mind doesn't know a difference, and you're taking those on, and that's how you feel about yourself. So this is what we're talking about, the truth. Again, it can be a little bit painful to have that conversation and identify what you're currently doing, but it is so freeing when you go through the process and lay out the standards and know where you want to go. Because when you focus on what you want, all the negative components, because you shouldn't be focused on negative, right? You want to be focused on the positive and where you want to go. You focus on the positive and where you want to go. It makes it a lot easier. You have less stress, and you're going to be in a much more congruency with who you want to be and how you want to show up.
Exactly. And just talking about that language, I think one that always sticks out to me is when someone says, I always, then they X, Y, and Z, or I always, and it's like, well, always.
Yeah. Yep.
And so you have to really track your language and understand, and this isn't easy if you haven't really been trained on this stuff. And that's some of the unique training that we personally bring as coaches is, I mean, we've spent an exuberant amount of money and time and continue to spend time on working on our language patterns and understanding our unconscious behaviors, thoughts that really, and belief systems and values and things that have really shaped who we are. And I mean, some of it we've had to completely throw out the window.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, there's so much that, again, your parents do the best they can with the resources they had, but it's just like, holy moly, that is not serving you.
Yeah.
Yet so many people just go through life thinking this is normal.
Yeah.
You know, even myself, like some of the thoughts that I had, I was like, no, this is who I am. And it's like, whoa, you know, I don't know. So it's also looking, Tony mentioned the wins. This is something that I have all my clients do is, what is a win this week? What can we celebrate? And it's not always that number on the scale. When you start focusing on the wins, what happens is you're training your mind to find the things that are good in life, the things that are going well versus, of course things happened, right? Things happened to Tony and I, but we can easily roll things off of our back now because we don't focus on the negative stuff. You know, like there's so many things just in business this week that, man, we could just go down a dark hole. This didn't work. That didn't work. This got shut down. This, you know, and instead of like crumbling, we've had to like, okay, screw it. Just put another thing out there. Okay. Do another thing. Okay. Oh, try it this way. Okay. Change this wording. And it's amazing when you stay so focused on, hey, what is the win? How can I make this a win-win? That's important.
Yeah. And from an emotional standpoint, when situations that come up that cause you a charge and maybe obviously you didn't want it to happen and it happened because stuff does happen. Evaluating that situation, what can you learn from it? Taking the lesson. Is it emotionally charging you? You got to let that thing go. Extract the lesson. Hey, maybe you didn't do it well enough.
Right.
Sometimes that's the truth.
Yep.
Can it be hard? Yes. Can it give you some feedback to say, okay, I got to do it a different way, or I got to show up a different way? 100%.
Yeah. Everything is feedback. Everything is feedback. You know, if you get on the scale and the scale doesn't move, guess what? That's feedback.
That's Aaron's fault. That's the coach's fault.
It's my fault, right? Right. I gotcha. No, it's feedback. Yeah. It is just a number. It doesn't represent who you are. It is just a number.
Hey, we could have a whole podcast on the stories that I've heard over the last 20 some years of
why the scale hasn't moved.
Why the person hasn't seen results.
Oh, those are good.
That programming's fault.
There's a lot of good program. Oh, your workouts.
I know.
Tony, it's your damn workouts. Oh man, we could go on.
Yep.
So just to kind of pull this all full circle, because more than anything, we want you to start understanding what your truth is. What is that you want? What's your standard? And here's the thing that we want to call out. We understand if you are struggling. You are not alone. There's a lot of people in this world struggling right now. I mean, just scroll social media for 2 seconds and you'll see a whole lot of struggle. But I mean, rightfully so. It's been a very, very challenging time.
Yeah. I mean, with struggle, it's kind of a choice too.
Exactly.
You have a choice every day to wake up and obviously, do the things you need to do. The attitude is yours to adjust and make it either a positive or negative. We prefer positive because positive is going to go a long way. Again, focus on what you want. So, you can't let everything just pull you down. But yeah, people struggle. We're going to, everybody's going to go through certain situations. But what we're going to talk about here is the evaluation of truth and give you a couple different things that you can do to take the time, whether you sit down with your spouse, whether you do it independently, but I think it's key to do both and have some conversations about it. This is what I recommend some of the guys that I work with do with their spouse as well, is when Arin was talking about set your standards, evaluate where's the truth at? And the truth is, am I where I want to be in different areas of my life? Is my health and wellness and my physical appearance where I want it to be? Evaluate that on a scale of 1 to 10. Is my finances? Evaluate it. Is my relationships? Evaluate it. Is my spirituality and whatever that looks like for the individuals? Evaluate it. And I think there was like 6 or 7 of them that we can go down through, and you evaluate those different areas and be truthful with yourself. Am I showing up in these areas? And then what you want to do is set a standard in that area. Here's how I'm going to show up in this area. Here's how I'm going to show up in that area. Again, we're going to pull it back to your health, fitness, and appearance, because when you have that foundation strong, when you can look in the mirror and you feel good about what you see, you will perform at a different level. Your energy is going to be at a different level. How you show up as a leader is going to be at a different level. How you show up to your spouse is going to be at a different level. So it will roll over in all areas of your life.
Absolutely. Health has to be the very first thing. I mean, if you don't have your health, the rest of it, I mean, you can kind of sort of work on it. But if you have all this money in the bank account, but it's all flying out with copays and drugs and, doctor's appointments, I mean, believe it or not, all that's going to add up, even if you have the best insurance. And so if you can't go and enjoy your wealth because you don't have your health, do you really have wealth? So health has to be the number one standard that you look at, and then work through all the rest of the values that you personally have. But the most important thing, if you're feeling like you're struggling, if you're feeling like, okay, you guys have heightened my awareness to this truth that I need to speak into, and you feel like, God, this, like, I can't get past this, you've got to reach out and get a coach. You've got to get someone who can have these higher level conversations with you. And I think sometimes, people don't understand that, hey, this isn't just about macros. This isn't just about a workout. Like, those would be really expensive workouts, right? I mean, let's just be honest. So but when it's the deeper conversation of, hey, why do you keep gaining this weight, losing it, putting it back on? Why have you not been able to move this needle forward? Like, what is actually going on? That's when you have a good coach that's going to help you do this for life. But the most important thing is, if you're struggling, you've got to do something about it. You can't keep blaming and complaining. You can't keep saying, woe is me, but you've got to start taking action. And you may be like, well, what action do I take? Again, this is where I would enlist the help of a coach.
Yeah. And, you are, again, your number one asset, self-evaluation and being truthful of where you're currently at in all those areas that I just spoke about. It's okay, because sometimes some areas are going to be off and some areas are going to be better. So, but you need to define where you're at currently. What does that look like? And then you need to set a standard in all those areas and focus on that. One of the things that I took from having a coach over the years is he talked about showing up in a different way. And what did that look like? And so he had written down a standard of what he wanted to be, what it looked like for him. And he made sure every day, no matter what day it was, he showed up that way. So what I mean by that is, I know there's some days that, so if you work from home, you want to just throw on a pair of sweats and roll out of bed and go to work, right? And get on your computer. Well, he set a standard. Even if he had to work from home, he was going to look the best he can possibly look that day, look nice, look presentable. And he just identified all the standards across and started showing up every day that way. So it's as simple as that. You define it, you set that standard, and then you consistently show up that day. And I guarantee you do things in all the areas of your life, starting with health, it will change who you are.
Yep, I agree to that. It's so important. And I think women get in this complacency too of like just rolling out of bed, kind of sort of fixing the hair and doing the thing. Or like, what is something that women say all the time? And this always rubs me the wrong way, is they call themselves a hot mess. Oh, I'm just a hot mess. And I'm like, I would never say that language.
Ouch.
I know. That's what I thought too when I heard that. But it was like, it's such a common...
Yeah, and it may be more slang, but yes, then that's internal representation
of who you are
and how you're showing up.
Yep. And so it's important, just like Tony's saying, start small here with what is your personal standard. I always do this, but obviously in a good way, right?
Yes. You want to reframe it.
Yep. I always get my steps in. I always get my workout in. I fuel my body well. I dress presentable. I take care of myself. These are just some very, like, we shouldn't even have to talk about this stuff, but I think, honestly, post the pandemic, more of this became acceptable.
Yeah, I think some of the standards dropped across because people were pushed internally and they let some of their standards drop. And we just have to be really aware of that and try to, push people up, because everybody should show up and feel good, how they look, have that energy and the positivity. And it's going to be so a way to help other people build themselves up and and then it's going to compound.
Well, and I think we're going to start seeing things flip back to that. I think the standard has gotten so low for so long that what we're hoping to do is to help really lead this movement of people that, hey, we do have standards for our life, and, we're not okay being overweight and, not feeling good in our own skin, unhealthy, on 10 different medications, when we really don't have to. We can take a little bit of personal responsibility and change that. So.
Yeah, 100%. Again, it all starts with you, the evaluation, being truthful with yourself, being truthful with your partner across the board. Again, are you showing up as the leader at work? Are you showing up as the father you should be, the mother you should be? And it's okay if you're not currently, but you have to evaluate. There's no way you're going to get from point A to point B if you don't take the time to tell the truth to yourself.
All right. Well, we will wrap this one up here and let us know. Did you like this one? And give us the feedback. Share it with a loved one. Share it with a friend. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care.